Microphone check. This is Brian Kendrick. No more heroin, waiting on some people to chime in. Well, hello world. I'm going to tell you, this is the first time ever given my live story. There we go. There's some people. It's the first time ever going Facebook Live. I'm not gonna spice it up and try and sound cool, cause you know the desire is there, but this ain't about me. I'm gonna touch on some things. I'm gonna try and keep it real. I'm gonna try and keep it raw. I'm gonna share some of my personal character defects, hoping that some people out there struggling might find some hope in me. In order to do that, I'm going to establish my credibility. I was the worst kind of junkie. Take a few moments and ask my higher power to speak through me so that somebody out there can be touched, because that's what this is all about. I think sometimes the message gets blurred. Sometimes our egos get involved, and we're all guilty of it. There's all different kinds of suffering in the world, and addiction is just one of them. Selfishness. My addiction trapped me in a constant state of selfishness, and that prevented my higher power from dwelling in me, because darkness and light can't dwell in the same place at the same time. I started out in a tiny little town, something like Mayberry, man. One stop sign, one gas station, middle class home. My mother was such a loving mother. If anything, maybe I was loved too much. She was an enabler. I think I started running my mother at age 7. My father was strict. He did his best with what he had, and he was trying to teach me lessons that I applied to my life today, but his methods kind of broke me. I felt like I couldn't meet his standards. I was always trying to make him proud, and it didn't work out so well. I love my father to death. I have a good relationship with him today, thanks to the spiritual program that I work. I know that he loves me, and he did what he could with what he had. I remember it not being okay to cry as a child, getting yelled at with a fist in my face. At a very early age, I could remember having an ear infection, and it hurt so bad. But every time that I would get sick like that, it would mean a trip to the hospital, which would mean another hospital bill. And my father was real tight with his money. So I remember at a very early age, maybe 7 or 8, starting to cut myself at a very early age. Because when I cut myself, that channeled, I could stop crying. I could turn the pain into anger, into a darkness. And I think that was my addiction showing up long before the drugs, man. It's so true. This is the disease of the mind. I seen unmanageability in my life from a very young age. And I don't know exactly when, but I just seen things through a selfish lens. Everything was about me. I made everything about me in every room I went into. I think I was about 13 when I decided to stop trying, stop thriving. I went against my father and turned my life into a rebellion against my father. I couldn't get the clothes that I wanted to wear, so right about the time that I started to rebel, the 90s grunge era was coming along. What a great time to be poor, because I just went in and got my dad's old Levi's and ripped out the jeans and, didn't wash my hair. I just embraced the 90s rock culture, Music was my thing. All my music idols were heroin addicts. I started rebelling. I started smoking and drinking at 14, 15. About 14 years old, I started running away all the time, sneaking out my window. And at about age 15, my father got tired of calling the law on me because he had to pay the bills. Every time I would get arrested, he had to pay for it. So I could remember at a very young age, my father walking in the room and saying, "If you want to be a man, boy, pay your own bills," and throwing all my bills, my probation fines and stuff at me. And I ran with it. That was a blessing to me. I ran and moved in with a friend who lived with his grandparents, and his grandpa was a severe alcoholic. And we just did what we wanted. Had a garage band. We called it minor consumption because everybody in the band had been arrested. They would come by the garage at least once a week, tell us to turn it down, noise ordinance violation. I embraced the drug culture. We bragged about it at school. What I found in this group of guys that I rebelled with was a brotherhood, a fellowship, and a community. I was looking for that love that I couldn't get from my father, that affection, that, at a very young age, I decided I didn't need nothing. I wanted a guitar and my brothers. That's what I lived my life for. The little brotherhood, the little circle of rebels that we had. I started partying hard and using hard drugs. Probably 15, 16. Started doing crack cocaine. 15 years old, man. Stole a bunch of money off my dad, like $3,000, and took off to the ghetto. Spent it all in 2 weeks on crack. Got arrested, went back to school. I remember falling asleep in class and waking up drenched in sweat, shaking. Going through withdrawals from crack cocaine at 15 years old. At 17, some things happened, and I ended up in a church, and I ended up chasing after God at a very early age. And I met somebody that was very close to me. He real quickly became my best friend on the planet. He was homeschooled kid. His parents were religious. They didn't even want him running around with me. I was giving up. At 17, I was already quitting hard drugs, giving my life to God. And we started a band, a Christian rock band. We played for about 5 or 6 months. It didn't ever get real big. We had about 100 people that followed us around, and I was the lead singer. And I don't know, about 6 months into it, man, I started smoking weed with one of the guys from church. Started smoking cigarettes again. Me and him went camping, and I remember the last conversation I ever had with him. He told me, he said, "Brian, God's not going to bless our band with you doing drugs." He said, "You're the lead singer. The Holy Spirit won't bless our band if you keep doing that." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm okay. And then the next day we were on our way. It was a Sunday morning, and we were on our way to pick up our bass player, and we got in a car wreck. Of course, he had his seatbelt on, and I didn't. And the Jeep rolled, and he snapped his neck. I don't remember much. I blacked out about the whole deal. I remember talking to him the night before about my drug problem, And then I remember looking over and just him looking like he had a bloody nose. I took that really hard. He showed me how to play guitar. He was a good, kind friend with a good heart. He was the good kid. I was the kid from the wrong side of the tracks. And his family was really tied to the Christian community, and I had to be a pallbearer at my best friend's funeral at age 17 and have 500 to 1,000 Christians come around and give me a hug and tell me it was just a test of my faith, to keep the faith, to stay strong. Well, at that point, I took the rebellion I had toward my father, and it became a rebellion against God. They don't think that I stopped believing in God, but I hated everything about Him. The God that I knew in my mind at that time, which is a different God now, but my life just spiraled out of control. I had all these goals and all these dreams, but I had a misconception about life that I was just going to wake up one day and be a rock star or take over the world. I always used to joke about starting a revolution. But I just wanted to get high first. I had all these things that I wanted to do. I just wanted to get high first. I just dove into it. I got arrested from high school 3 different times for minor consumption, took to jail because I would drink at night. We'd stay up all night drinking, and I would save. I had a whiskey bottle collection, and I would save enough in the bottle. When I woke up in the morning, I'd take a shot and kill the hangover. Well, sometimes I'd drink so much beer, I'd save too much in that bottle and be wobbling at school, and they would haul me away. I really don't like telling my story. I don't think the specifics really matter. What matters is the feelings. It's not what we've done. I stole off my mother, who I tried to love in my own sick way, my own selfish way. I love my mom. I love her today because I love myself. I couldn't because I hated myself my entire life. I think my father made me into a perfectionist. But the thing is, a perfectionist combined with I was scared to death to fail. And if I tried anything, I wanted to be perfect. So my perfectionism made me scared to try. I didn't try anything. I didn't do anything that I found challenging. The one thing that I could do and succeed at, and nobody had any expectations of me, is throw my middle finger up at the world. Really what I did, my whole life was like a kid laying in the candy store, kicking and screaming, throwing his feet, because he doesn't get his way. I love you, Pam. I love you, Marty. I love you, Jim. I love all you guys, man. Joey McClanahan. Minor consumption. One of my bandmates is on here. Alright, I'm going to take you a little bit further through high school. I barely graduated high school, man. I was truant all the time. Graduated high school. Took off to Florida to be a rock star. That didn't work out. I ran all over the world looking for myself. Everywhere I went, there I was. Did the methamphetamine thing. I went from crack cocaine to cocaine to shooting cocaine to methamphetamines to prison for methamphetamines, and I swore off methamphetamines because what happened is I started hearing voices, man. I was that type of dude that would talk to himself, that nobody wanted to be around. I was that type of dude. Now I realized that my grips on reality were getting thin. That sleep deprivation was okay in my early 20s, but the older I got and the more I did it, the joy, there was no fun in it. It was just insanity. And then I got charged with manufacturing, went to prison, swore it off. I came out of prison and found pain pills. Now here was a drug. I was a drug addict from the time I was 15, but I'd never really been dependent on anything until I found opiates. Real quick, I remember the first time really thinking I was with my daughter's mom and thinking, normally I would want to choke you right now, but right now everything's okay. I was working in sales, so pain pills made it easy for me to smile, even when things weren't okay. It made me feel like everything was going to be okay. So it wasn't long before I was totally dependent. In order to make love, I had to have pain pills. In order to play with my daughter, I had to have pain pills. In order to get out of bed, I had to have pain pills. In order to go to work, I had to have pain pills. I couldn't exist without pain pills. And I would do anything. I had other people going and finding them and bringing them to me because I wouldn't get out of bed. And that's what I did. I used people to feed the demon that was inside of me. And what it is, man, is I think somewhere inside of me I always expected greatness. And I was so ashamed of who I'd become. I couldn't live with the person I saw in the mirror. So I just embraced the darkness. I fueled it. I justified doing people wrong. I wouldn't do my friends wrong. I would go out and find people that I thought deserved it. I would go out and screw people over. I would go... Like I said, man, I'm trying to share the character defects in me that maybe you share that you could relate to, because none of this is about me. I started shooting cocaine. We were selling a lot of powder cocaine to the point where our noses didn't work anymore. We was getting nosebleeds all the time, and a neighbor turned us on to it. He was shooting meth all the time, and we decided... Actually, my brother decided he wanted to try it and didn't want to do it alone. We tried it, and I don't think dude put very much in the spoon. We didn't enjoy it. And I had this brilliant idea. If you can do this with meth, you could do it with cocaine. And we had a whole lot of that. And then it was on. We used to go out in the backyard. We would call it walking off a heart attack. I remember many years of my life I wouldn't stop doing speed until I started getting chest pains. And then I wouldn't know what to do, man. I remember laying in bed one night, and a girl, I'm trying to convince myself I'm not having a heart attack, laying there trying to make myself calm down and go to sleep. She looks at me and says, "Oh my God." I said, "What?" She said, "I could see your heart beating. Are you okay? Your heart's beating way too fast." And oh, it got real then, man. I had to jump up and walk off a heart attack. That happened more and more as I went on in life, getting chest pains and stuff. Once I started with the needle, I become obsessed with the needle. I started shooting everything that I could find. Everything. It didn't matter what it was. I wasn't going to do it unless you put it in the needle. I remember I was spending $300+ a week on pain pills for me and my daughter's mom. And she'd moved from New York to quit heroin. And it got to a point where I hadn't known where to get it. And it crossed my path, and I had the opportunity. And I can remember her crying with tears in her eyes, begging me not to get it, because she said it was going to take her someplace that she didn't ever want to go again. And I remember telling her to shut the F up, because she wasn't paying for it. I went from pain pills to heroin to try and save money. Little did I know. And once I started shooting heroin, the monster just took over, man. I moved away from my hometown because it took me to such a parasitic level. I didn't want nobody that I knew and loved to see what I'd become. It took me to homelessness on so many different occasions. It got to where none of my veins were tappable anymore. They had collapsed. 3 massive heart attacks, 2 blood transfusions, over a dozen seizures. In my circles where I ran, overdose was it happened. I learned how to give CPR just from trial and error. People would fall out, and I would give them mouth to mouth and bring them back. That was just a part of the heroin culture. That was a part of the circles I hung out in, and I was able to handle the situation calmly. So I was the guy that other people would have hit them. I was the doctor. I painted a picture in my head like I was a good guy. Even in the alleys that I was dwelling in, all that stuff I was doing, I would go around and people that were sick, I would get them well. So I was like the Robin or the Peter Pan of the ghetto. It's just me justifying my actions. And during all this, I'm calling my mom, I'm making up stories, I'm telling her lies, every lie that you can think of, everything that someone has done for drugs, I did it. I am that guy. And I share this with you because even my teeth are fake, man. I'm lucky to be alive. I'm a miracle. The reason I talk about the things that I'm doing today is because the people that knew me the way that I was, maybe they could believe in themselves. Maybe they could find some hope. I'm not bragging by any means. I truly believe if I can do it, then you can do it. Anybody can do it, man. And, you know, I'm not even going to point you toward a specific fellowship. I'm telling you the answer is fellowship, community, and love. I was a broken kid, and I carried that with me to my adulthood. Adolescence, man, I was confused about my sexuality. I was confused about everything. I remember 14 years old at the school threatening to kill myself and my mom having to come in and pick me up. These are all things before the drugs took over, and I carried them with me. And as I grew older, I ended up being a kid walking around in a man's body, man. And then it just really gets bad because you're carrying around this man's body. People expect you to be a man, and I wasn't. I still struggle today with trying to be a man. I'm still learning. The only difference in me between the way I was then and the way I am now is that I'm teachable, and I got people that I look up to, places where I seek advice. I still struggle. I'm not a teacher, man. I'm just beginning. I'm just starting to learn. My thoughts and my concepts on God are developing and evolving every day. Back to the brokenness and the things that I did for drugs. I'll tell you a story. At the end of my road, I ended up in Chicago, Illinois. And here's a message for people listening, man. I met a girl in treatment, which I'd done on 2 or 3 different occasions. I would get clean for 2 or 3 months. I would start calling my daughter. Oh, I was such a bad father. I would start reaching out and being a good dad and put her picture above my bed and argue with her mom about letting her come to see me and be active in her life. And I wouldn't get a sponsor. And then I would relapse and go back out there and disappear and leave her brokenhearted. Life is hard, man. When you love people and you don't have wisdom, if you don't love yourself and you're trying to love somebody else, you're just hurting them. This program's taught me how to love myself. I have something to offer some people today. Okay, one of the girls that I met in the treatment center was from Chicago. We took off to Chicago, Illinois, and things got real bad, man. And it's cold in Chicago. It is cold, man. Even talking about it, I shiver thinking about that wind cutting through you. It got to a point where I just chose to live outside. Why? Because the apartment I was staying in was a 20-minute ride on the L train to the dope spot. And that was too long. I wasn't willing to wait that long. It got to where I was flying a sign. I was begging for money. I was talking the girl that I claimed to love into doing horrible things just to feed my drug habit. I'm talking, man, people, there's times, a couple different times, when just some people I was getting high with fell out, and instead of giving them mouth to mouth, I just took their dope and left. I was a horrible human being. And there's one time I can remember we would walk across this bridge to the dope spot on the west side of Chicago, and every time we'd go over the bridge, this is the kind of person I was, I would threaten to jump off it. I would tell my girlfriend, I'm going to do it. I'm sick of this. I can't live this way no more. I'm going to jump. I'm going to die. I want to die. And she'd had enough of it. She got tired of hearing. She looked at me dead in the eye and she said, just do it. You're not going to do it. And I swear, the only thing that kept me from jumping, I thought to myself, she had $100 worth of heroin in her pocket. That is the only reason I made it across that bridge. I hated myself, man. I was a parasite and I wanted to die. I just didn't have the balls to do it. I would go out and buy enough heroin with the intentions of loading it all up in the rig and taking my own life. But then I would think, I got enough here, I could do it next time. I would want to get high one more time, chasing that dragon. I can remember getting clean off heroin for brief moments, and I would get around the tables and I would talk about it in such a passionate way, and I would start to break out in sweats and tear up, and I even wrote a few poems about how the needle and the boy called to me in my dreams. It was calling me. I could hear it haunting me, man. It's like even before I ever ran across heroin, I knew that was going to be my end. I never intended on being an old man. I planned to die at age 27. I wanted to leave my mark and die. And then once I realized that I might not leave a mark, I just wanted to die. I had this voice in my head that wouldn't shut up. It didn't matter what I was doing. I could hear this voice in my head. It would say, why don't you just blow your head off? Why don't you just blow your head off? Why don't you just do it? Just do it. And I could remember subconsciously arguing with myself, where is this coming from? Get out of my head. And I checked myself into mental institutions on like 4 different occasions, sometimes because it was too cold, sometimes because I really was suicidal, man. I never ever, I was popular in school, I had a lot of friends, and never did I consider the fact that I would end up old and alone. I didn't realize that dying old and alone was one of my biggest fears until it started happening. I moved so far away from home, and my mom started going to Al-Anon, and then all of a sudden one day, I put my cell phone in my shoes, man, and then I would use my shoes as a pillow, sleeping on the street, right? I woke up and somebody had stole my shoes and my cell phone. It's cold out, right? And the only places that I could shoot up, the only places I had left was my groin and my neck. I needed to go into a bathroom to hit my neck. I couldn't do it without a mirror. I couldn't even get to the dope spot. They wouldn't let me on the train without shoes. So I'm telling you right now, if you're one of those enablers, if my mom wouldn't have got enough strength to stop answering the phone to allow me to hit my bottom, I wouldn't be where I am today. My trip to Chicago, I thought I'd hit many bottoms, man. My last one, you know, I had no pride left. Like I said, I was flying a sign and begging and doing whatever I could do to get that next fix. Because in the end, you know, that girl, she brought on like $100, $200 a day, and she ended up leaving me. She checked herself into treatment and left me on the cold concrete, man. And so I didn't know what to do. I was so ragged, man. I didn't shower. I hadn't changed my clothes in a month. I ditched the bag with my clothes in it because it got too heavy on my back. Walking around, homeless in Chicago. Running around the neighborhoods where you're just not supposed to be in, man. If you don't know the right people, crazy white boys, what everybody called me, and I was, man. When you don't fear death, you'll do anything. Okay, man. Well, this is what happened, man. I checked myself into Haymarket in Chicago because I didn't know what to do, and I ended up getting into it with the staff there after I'd been there like 2 weeks and dried out. I went on 4 days on Suboxone, and then I went into the program, and I left because I was miserable, right? Went back on the streets, got me some right away, right? That was my mission. And then I called my little brother, and I said, man, you got a credit card? He said, yeah, why? I said, man, you got to get me a train ticket, and you got to do it quick, or I'm going to end up right back where I started, man. And he came and got me. I ended up back in my old stomping ground with an old friend of mine. In my hometown, in where I was born, in Illinois, I had a guy that never moved and lived in this little apartment, and he was a very bad heroin addict. And it was my go-to spot whenever I went back. I'd only go back maybe once or twice a year, and I'd go to his house. I went there, and I called my brother Marty, and I told him I was thinking about recovery. I was thinking about coming back, man. And I had a long conversation with him, and I was bad, man. My neck's all bruised up. I'm horrible. I'm barely alive. And the next day, he called me up out of the blue, and he's like, man, so-and-so, Sarah is coming to get you, man. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, there's a spot open at this treatment center. You need to come now. It might not last. You got to come. He pretty much done the Marty Norman thing, didn't give me a whole lot of choice. And I thought about fighting it, but then I'm like, man, I was about out of dope. I was at a bottom, had nowhere to go, and I was like, all right, I just gave in. So I did the last of my stuff, man, and they got me, and I went up here. And then I got a lot sicker than what I thought I was going to get. I was going through hell at this treatment center, and I decided I was going to leave. My mom was on her way to bring me some clothes, and I said, I can't do this, Mom. I'll check myself into treatment somewhere else, but you got to take me back to Danville. I called up my buddy, ordered up some dope. My mom called Marty, and he said, no, don't come get him. Whatever you do, don't come get him. My mom stopped and turned the car around. The reason I'm telling you this is because the next day I woke up, my buddy Mike, my long-term friend, my go-to spot where I was headed, died of an overdose. And I remember falling on my knees. I'm talking shaking and looking up, man, and just saying, all right, I give in. This is what you want. I didn't know where to get no heroin where I was at. And the effort that it was going to take to find somebody and get it done is more than I had. I didn't have the energy. I was tired of fighting. And I just said, all right, man, you know what? This is what you want. So be it. And I told Marty, I went to Marty and told him, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, man. Whatever you did, whatever's working for you, man, I'm willing. Not 2 days later than that, my buddy who died, his daughter died. And this was heroin. When I got to town, he didn't have a good hookup, and he had me call some of my old guys. This is stuff I plugged them in with. There's been 5 or 6 people that are dead today because of paths I set them on. I dwelt in the alleys of hell. I participated. My life promotes change, because if you don't believe in change, then you don't believe in me. I'm telling you, man, miracles happen. This life is magical. I'm a good person today. I'm a man of integrity. I'm a man with spirituality. And my every fiber, I live to serve others. I live to promote positive energy. I'm here because it can happen. It's possible for anybody. There is nothing high and lofty. There is nothing about me that's any different than you. Anybody that's suffering out there, man. God likes to take the broken and make them strong. That is how it works, man. All it takes, man, is fellowship, community, and love. I had to reprogram my mind, and I couldn't have done it alone. My ego was killing me, man. That ego, that me not wanting to take suggestions, me not wanting to look up and reach out. I couldn't just look up, and I couldn't just reach out. I had to do both. I had to ask for help. I had to become teachable. I'm proud of who I am today, but let me tell you this, my addiction is still here. And if I stop doing what I'm doing, I don't have faith in that I will stay sober, because I'm not cured of this disease. This disease is not something that goes away. This disease is doing push-ups. This disease is right out this window waiting on me. This disease is in the alley. I feel it creeping up in my mind all the time, man. I start to get selfish. I start to feel sorry for myself. I don't want to talk to my sponsor. I don't want to talk to my friends. I don't want to talk to God. I want to get discouraged. I want to get down. I want to give up. That perfectionist in me, man. The man that my dad was trying to create. Well, guess what? I am that guy today. I am rocking this life. I am winning. But let me tell you where the danger creeps in. Because I want to do so good, when I fail, the urge to say F it creeps in. The urge to just give up. Throw in the towel. If I can't do it perfect, if I can't do it the way that I want to do it, then I won't do it at all. That demon is still there, but I'm aware today, because of all the people in my life and because of the motivational speakers and the reprogramming of my mind, I understand today that it's okay to fail. That sometimes I have to fail on my way to success. I'm willing to fall down. My drive is hard. I will not quit. And it's not so much me that I have faith in. I have faith in the group of people that are around me. I have faith in my brothers at the Truman House. I have faith in my sponsorship. I have faith in my God. I reach out constantly, and I will not stop. And that's why I'll stay sober, is because tomorrow I'm going to do what I did yesterday, even more so. The community of people in my life is who I got faith in. Community, fellowship, and love. I don't think there's any kind of suffering in this world that can't bring you out of. I'm proud to be a part of the Truman House. I'm proud to say I'm a recovering heroin addict. I'll tell you this, I couldn't love so deep if I hadn't spent so much time in hate. I'm able to forgive almost everybody. I don't judge people much because you know what? It's real easy for me to put myself in their shoes. I've been the liar. I've been the cheater. I've been the hater. I've been the thief. I've been the selfish. I've been everything you can think of, man. There's not a sin that I can't look past. The people that irritate me the most are the ones that remind me of me. I have no right to judge, and I have no right to tell you what your truth is. You figure that out. Your spirituality, your journey, not mine. It's my job to love you, and I do. I love you so much. I love my God, and I try to be the voice, and that voice is love. No judgment, no separation, no if you do this, then. I just love you, man. And if I could help you, I'll hold your hand. The only requirement to be in my inner circle is that you're struggling to be a better person. I'm so in love with life today, and I promise you this, I ain't done. And thank you for tuning in. I hope you got something from my story. There's a lot that goes into it that it doesn't really matter though, man. The feelings that are associated with it do. Shame, guilt, fear, we all have them. One person might steal $5 out of their mom's purse, and that haunts them at night for the rest of their life. I stole my mom's whole bank card, and I robbed Minnie, so it may not own me the time that I took $5 out of my mom's purse, but you know what? Something makes you feel shame. There's something in your life that you're guilty about. There's something in your life that you're afraid about. There's something in your life that you're scared of. We are all human. There is no uniqueness. We are all one. There's a current that flows through all of us, that indwelling spirit, that source. And that is where, when we tap into that, we have the ability to connect with everybody. I love you. There is nothing here but a struggling student. I'm a student of life. Someday I might be able to say I'm a master of it. I would like to master love, because love is hard. Once you decide to step into the light, once you decide that you want to love, then you have to start figuring out the best way to do it. And that, my friend, is a challenge. And I can't do it alone. Joey, man, I love you. Brooke Leanne, my sweet niece, how are you? Who all we got on here? Marty, my brother. Paul. Higgy. I love you, Higgy. Robert's on here. Man, I love you guys. I appreciate the support. I just want to say all the support, man, from everybody with the Truman House and what we're doing in Terre Haute. Thank you. I use that as fuel to keep going. You know, when people come up to us and say, man, your message inspired me. That's why I do this stuff. Man, I reach out to people trying to give hope. I'm a hope dealer today, man. I love all of you. This is my church. You guys are my strength. You are my backbone. Just, man, I hope we can unite and hold hands and scream, no more heroin. That stuff is something serious, man. It's killing. That stuff is poison. It always has been. I'm not going to tell you. It's always been, man. I would have swore to you that was going to be the death of me. That's how I thought everything was going to end. And you know what? The threat is still real, because if I did ever give up and go back out there, you know, the chances of dying on that, that's what gets you, man, when you're off it for long term. You go back out there, and thing with me, I pick up one drink. Last time I relapsed after a period of sobriety, just one drink, playing some music at a bar, turned into running into some cocaine, turned into so geeked I had an anxiety attack, turned into going out and finding my drug of choice. In 24 hours, I went from one drink to needle in my arm in an abandoned building. I want to tell you, man, my message is for the molested. My message is for the worst of the worst. My message is for the people that have done all the sexually degrading things that I have done. I'm going to tell you that don't define you, and don't let them things that haunt you at night, don't keep them inside. You're not that different. We all go through stuff like that. You would be surprised how many people relate to you. We're all human. You're not that different. Don't let that uniqueness, that terminal uniqueness kill you. You need to realize that you connect. We're not that different. We are all one. Man, I'm thankful that I'm here. I'm thankful that Higgy asked me to do this. I hope somebody out there got something from this. I love everybody on here. Let me see. Play a song. Guitar. Hey, I got some fans out there. No more heroin, Higgy. I love you, Mindy. You've changed my life. I'm in love. I'm a family man today. I'm doing my best. I don't think that I got this mastered just yet. I'm learning though. I'm learning. Ricky, my brother. There's a lot of people on here I grew up with, man. That means a lot. That is awesome. How you doing, Roland? I'm not going to take up much more of your time, guys. That's pretty much my message, man. I like to dwell more in my solution than my problem, because my problem is the same. We were all fighting that poison, wrestling with that snake. I'm much more into the solution. Tell you the truth, I experienced about all there is to experience in the dark side of life. But this solution-based mindset, this winner's mindset, I'm just getting started on that, baby. I ain't seen all the light has to offer. Once the light starts to reveal, man, look out. There's so much to see when you start looking through eyes with a new pair of glasses. From Australia. All right now. Thomas, I'm glad to hear you got something out of it, man. That's why I do it. It's not about me, it's about the message, guys. Man, it's a great time to be a recovering addict. It is a great time in America, man. There's a revolution starting, man. I love you guys. That's all the time I'm going to take up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having me, Higgy. Later.